Hitler's rise to power. How the world handed it to him. The dark secrets they never taught you in school. They funded him. They enabled him. They handed him power. And then they watched in horror as he used it. This is the story of the dark secrets behind the rise of Adolf Hitler, the history they never taught you. January 30th, 1933. The most dangerous man in history is handed the keys to one of the world's most powerful nations. Not through a coup, not through military force, but through a democratic process that powerful businessmen and politicians deliberately engineered. What you're about to hear isn't the history they taught you in school. This is the story of the industrialists, the bankers, the American corporations, and the calculated cowards who built Adolf Hitler and unleashed him on the world. To understand Hitler's rise, you first have to understand the world that made it possible. The Treaty of Versailles forced Germany to accept sole blame for World War I. Stripped of territory, stripped of its military, and crushed under war reparations so devastating that economist John Maynard Keynes warned they would guarantee future catastrophe. He was right. The humiliation was total and deliberate. Germany was not just defeated, it was broken, blamed, and economically destroyed by the nations that wrote the peace. By 1923, hyperinflation had made German currency so worthless that workers were paid twice daily so they could spend their wages before they lost value. A loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. Families burned banknotes for heat because currency was cheaper than firewood. The entire German middle class, doctors, teachers, engineers, factory owners, watched life savings built over decades evaporate in weeks. Into this vacuum of despair, humiliation, and economic devastation stepped a failed Austrian painter with a gift for rage. Adolf Hitler was nobody, until the right people decided to make him somebody. Adolf Hitler was born in Austria in 1889, the son of an authoritarian and abusive customs official who was contemptuous of his son's artistic dreams. Hitler applied to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts twice and was rejected both times. He spent years drifting through Vienna in poverty, developing the obsessive anti-Semitic ideology that would define everything that followed. When World War I ended in German defeat, Hitler, recovering in a military hospital from a gas attack, wept with rage. The humiliation of surrender became the defining wound of his psychology and the fuel for everything that came next. By 1919, Hitler's extraordinary ability to channel public fury into electrifying speeches had made him the dominant force in a tiny political movement, the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazis. November 1923, convinced the moment had arrived, Hitler led 2,000 armed men in the beer hall putsch, an attempted coup in Munich. It failed completely. 16 Nazis were killed. Hitler was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in Landsberg prison. Here was the first moment history could have gone differently. Had the court imposed the full sentence, the movement collapses without its leader. He served 9 months. In that cell, dictating to Rudolf Hess, Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, laying out with terrifying clarity exactly what he intended to do with power. Germany's industrial elite read it carefully, and instead of alarm, several of them saw opportunity. By late 1932, the Nazi Party was financially bankrupt. Goebbels wrote desperately in his diary, "The financial situation is hopeless, nothing but debts and obligations." The party was weeks from complete collapse. Then came February 20th, 1933. In a secret meeting at Hermann Göring's home, Hitler addressed Germany's most powerful industrialists. He told them bluntly, private enterprise cannot survive in a democracy. He promised to destroy trade unions and eliminate communism. Then he asked for money. Gustav Krupp of the Krupp Arms Empire pledged 1 million marks immediately. The chemical giant IG Farben contributed 400,000 marks that night and 4.5 million marks by year's end, saving the Nazi Party from financial destruction. The executives who wrote those checks were later charged with war crimes at the Nuremberg tribunals. But the financiers were not only German. Henry Ford, whose virulently anti-Semitic writings Hitler called an inspiration. Hitler kept a life-sized portrait of Henry Ford on his office wall and praised him by name in the pages of Mein Kampf. Ford's German subsidiary used forced labor producing military vehicles for the Nazi war machine. General Motors built a factory in Berlin specifically to produce the trucks that carried Nazi forces across Europe in the Blitzkrieg. IBM provided punch card technology that systematically cataloged Jewish populations across occupied Europe, the technological infrastructure that made the Holocaust operationally possible. Chase Manhattan Bank helped the Nazis raise $20 million while simultaneously freezing the accounts of Jewish refugees. Alcoa supplied Nazi Germany with so much aluminum that Germany produced 60% more than America itself. These are documented facts confirmed at the Nuremberg tribunals and in declassified government archives. Without this corporate support, Hitler's movement dies in 1932. Corporate funding gave Hitler survival. Political manipulation gave him power. Former Chancellor Franz von Papen, aristocratic, arrogant, and desperate to destroy the German left, convinced aging President Paul von Hindenburg to appoint Hitler as chancellor with conservatives in key cabinet positions. Papen told colleagues, "Within 2 months, we will have pushed Hitler so far into a corner that he'll squeak." It is history's most catastrophic miscalculation. On January 30th, 1933, Hindenburg signed the appointment papers. Had any serious political opposition challenged this decision, and Hitler's party had actually lost seats in the November 1932 elections, the window was closing. But the conservatives believed they were smarter than the man they were installing. Within 18 months, every one of them had been murdered, imprisoned, or completely marginalized. February 1933, the Reichstag fire, almost certainly set by the Nazis themselves, gave Hitler the pretext to suspend civil liberties and rule by emergency decree. A serious legal challenge could have ended his chancellorship immediately. June 1934, the night of the Long Knives, Hitler ordered the murder of his own SA leadership along with political opponents. When the German military accepted these murders without protest, trading silence for promises of rearmament, the last institutional check on Hitler's power was permanently gone. Each of these moments was a door that closed. Each closing made the next catastrophe inevitable. With absolute power consolidated, Hitler moved with terrifying speed. Austria annexed in 1938. Czechoslovakia seized. Poland invaded September 1st, 1939. World War II had begun. Over the next 6 years, the war Hitler started would kill an estimated 70 to 85 million people, approximately 3% of the entire world's population. 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were systematically murdered in the Holocaust, enabled by the corporate technology, the industrial capacity, and the political cowardice that powerful men on 2 continents had provided. The men who funded him, the men who enabled him, the men who looked away, they all share ownership of what followed. By April 1945, the bunker beneath Berlin's Reich Chancellery was Hitler's entire world. Soviet forces were less than a mile away. He issued orders to phantom armies destroyed weeks earlier and raged at generals who had no troops left to move. April 30th, 1945, Hitler shot himself. Eva Braun took cyanide beside him. Their bodies were carried to the garden above, doused in gasoline and burned. His final paranoid instruction ensuring his corpse would never become a trophy. The man who had been funded by industrialists, enabled by cowards, and supported by corporations on 2 continents died alone underground, his empire in ruins, his armies destroyed, his ideology buried beneath the rubble of the city he had promised would stand for 1,000 years. The Führerbunker was demolished. A parking lot was built over it. History had rendered its final verdict on the dark secrets that made him possible. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay informed and engaged as we expose the truths of history.